Yeah, so, how did it come to this? And what are we going to do if Beethoven finds out? We're all going to be in trouble. We're all complicit. That's why I'm nervous. So I was hired in 2007 to take part in the festival to celebrate the reopening of the Royal Festival Hall, which is one of our cultural palaces in London, had been refurbished. In one of the meetings, the preliminary meetings, they were discussing the Ode To Joy. And the school children from Lambeth were to sing the song. And I said, because my German is not really up to scratch anymore, I'll write a couple of English verses just so I can sing it. So everyone said, oh great, that'll be good. It's really simple, even I can play it. The woman who was working with the school children, who were all under 11, said to me on the choir, if you do write a couple of verses, send them to me. Because the school kids were really having trouble with the literal translation of Schiller's original Ode To Joy, which goes on at some length about the Daughters of Elysium, who was some kind of new romantic band in the 1980s. A couple of days later, I got a phone call from the organisers of the event, and they said, "Listen, we heard your verses. We really like them. Do you think you could write the whole libretto? Would you think you could write the whole?" So I'm thinking, yeah, probably, yeah. I'm a songwriter. How hard can it be? And they said, great, can you do it by Tuesday? But I promised Kerry that I would try and do the singable part, the part that you can play on an acoustic guitar. See now like a phoenix rising from the ashes of the war, hope of ages manifested, peace and freedom evermore. Brothers, sisters, stand together, raise your voices now as one. Though by history divided, reconciled in unison.
You have to be amazed as a creative artist that Beethoven wrote the Ninth Symphony when he couldn't really hear properly. You know, it would be beyond your wildest dreams.
Throw off now the chains of ancient bitterness and enmity. And they did it for the closing ceremony. It was absolutely amazing. And then they did it again and invited the Queen, which was nice. She hung around afterwards to shake my hand. We got a phone call from one of her footmen. Could Her Majesty have a copy of the score signed by Mr. Bragg? If I knew she was into that, I'd have brought her a T-shirt. Last verse. What's to be there, oh my brother, sister, what is in your...
The dedication that he gave to his work finally paid off, and it paid off big. There's absolutely no reason why someone from my background who left school when they were 16 years old, who can't read music, there's no reason why that should stop me from writing the lyrics of the Ode To Joy from Beethoven's Ninth Symphony.
Thanks very much.
The whole thing is a kind of creation story or an evolution story. I mean, the first thing is not a thing. It's a nothing. What on earth is that? And then when it starts to move, the Spirit of God hovering over the waters, what you get is and then you have this cataclysmic event. It's pure violence. That is primordial violence. That is the Big Bang. It enters your bloodstream and then changes who you are. The entire blueprint of everything, from subatomic particles to galactic clusters, it's all here.
From Tienamen Square, where it was played over the loudspeakers during the revolution, to the Brandenburg Gate in Berlin, where it was played when the wall fell down. It seems to express most completely what human beings are struggling for, what's possible for mankind. And this is music of transformation. It's what we dream of. It's a battle cry for humanity.
I was struck every December by the performance of Ninth Symphonies all over the country.
If you are in Tokyo in December, at least 20, 30, 40 daiku performances in Tokyo. And all over Japan, I think there will be more than 100.
The creation of the piece in Japan, it's a very strange and complicated story too. The beginning of the First World War, it had been done in a German prisoners' camp. They had to take these guys as prisoners to Japan. But they liked the guys. They did a lot of activities, and especially they did sports, art, and music. But why did it become such a tremendous success? I thought that I had to understand why it was so.
Usually, musics are played by professionals, even the chorus. But daiku has to have a lot of people, and even amateurs can participate in daiku singing. There are competitions, chorus competitions in Japan. By all the elementary schools, junior high schools, high school. So people love singing chorus.
The motivation to sing is not a passion. So not a passion, but I need to sing. I need to sing. to lead.
All other things, the popular music, jazz, and all the thing comes flooding us. But they go all by. But Beethoven stays. For me, every time when I perform this, it's a new piece. And of course, I feel also that people need that. This is not for me to perform, but for people all get together.
To me, the journey with Beethoven began when I was a child. Himno a la Alegría was the Spanish version from the Ode to Joy, from the Ninth. And the first places where we heard this song was in the church. Everybody knew the Ninth. I heard him sometimes at home, but it wasn't important in my life. The Beatles were more important. I was always singing. At school we had a choir and we had a group from 6 girls and we played Chilean folk music. Gracias a la vida que me ha dado tanto. Songs who told about the people, about the very simple people in Chile.
These new songs, they were talking about dignity. The times were changing. There were the 60s, and no one could be at the side of the river. The river was much too strong. You were carried in the big river of history.
Salvador Allende was elected in 1970. We were so happy and responsible, like students.
I consider myself a pacifist anarchist. I was in favor of the people, of rock and roll and marijuana. I call myself a pacifist anarcho-psychedelic. That was my part.
Yeah, it was like a party, and we were so happy that we, like students, could go to the lands and to work in the countries and in the mines, and that the workers could come to the universities in the night. You know, so it was the feeling, all the society is with all the society together. We can go everywhere. That was a wonderful time. And it began the terrible time, but we didn't know that.
I learned about Beethoven in school. I remember being taught the Ninth Symphony, and what I always dreaded was we had to sing it. We were asked to sing the Ode to Joy. Freude schöner Götter, Funken, Tochter aus Elysium. And then we got graded on it, so everyone had to do it. I was a good girl. I was even that good that I was politically organized. I was in the German youth, Freie Deutsche Jugend. I was an excellent Jung pioneer and an excellent Tienamen pioneer. And I remember the day I got the red scarf, I was very, very proud. I gave a lot of support and help and love to my country back then. But when I was little, I kept dreaming about, like, a little girl going over to West Berlin. Meet all these people we secretly watched on TV because we weren't allowed to watch Western television because it was the television of the enemy and it was bad propaganda. You cannot really grasp the wall, what it meant in its entirety, but there's something else behind there and you want to go there one day.
In 1988, the year after the first student movement, I was third year of my master degree. We just don't feel any sense of hope for us, for ourselves, and for China also. So we all prepare to go to, for example, myself, to go abroad to study in the United States or in UK or Europe. We just want to leave China to get a better life because we just feel we were denied such basic freedom by all kinds of violence. Direct violence of police, of soldiers, and also the violence of culture. All the good things denied. Oh, I like painting, so that's bourgeois. Oh, I like Beethoven, nice, that's bourgeois. Oh, I like dancing, that's bourgeois. That kind of culture is a monster. It denies every good thing. We had no future in that society, so we just want to leave China.
On Tuesday, 11, I woke up with the radio.
Mando número 1 de la Junta de Gobierno.
Está el golpe. In just a moment, all my light of freedom disappeared.
When the military coup came, began a very dark time. Pinochet took the power and he made one of the worst military coups. This dream from socialism, from equality, was gone.
I was robbed for my pacifism, just vanishes. It was so big, the outrage. I could not be pacifist anymore. I was in peace and they declared war, and I accepted the challenge.
The first time I physically saw the wall was when I changed the schools and I went to high school in another district of East Berlin. I was a teen, and I think then you start asking yourself, is that to keep me protected? Is that to keep me confined in a space? Is that to keep someone else out? There was one day when I was pretty close to the wall and I could see that border patrol walking on top of that tower, and I could see the gun. I turned around and walked into the opposite direction. I wanted to get away as fast as possible because I was so scared that guy would shoot me. We were separated by people who decided to separate a part of Germany from the rest of it for political reasons. You can tell a child something for 10 years, for 15 years, but then there will come the day, what all children do when they grow up, they start asking.
I've already got a PhD scholarship from Boston University before that movement. So I feel I have to finish my master's degree. But my computer was broken down. So I went to the square. When Hu Yaopang died, all around me, the students, my fellow students, joined themselves together on the street. It took me 3 days to think if I should join this movement. It was hard for me to, but I just feel that all around we feel our own energy, I think, and a collective, joint force. We'll have a new hope of this whole country, but in front of us there was a big obstacle. The armies, the troops, they were coming.
The second movement is the scherzo, and the word scherzo, of course, means joke. This is anything but a joke. This is almost as alarming as the first movement. It's nothing to stop it. This is just unstoppable momentum, like a star whirling through space. It's like a cosmic dance, filled with joy and irony and drive and impulse.
This was a very poor country and people had to work a lot in order to achieve some kind of wealthiness. I mean, there's a lot in Japanese psyche, would you say, about effort and working to achieve things. over the place things that are called daiku or utaukai, which means associations to sing the ninths. People gathering and working every week with a music master because they prepare for the performance of 9 symphonies all over the country.
There's room for someone who's the complete amateur. So some people are just watching the sheet music the other way around. And they totally don't understand what conductors say. But gradually, they realize that each word has special meanings. So we need to understand each word and the phrases. So they have to go over and over again before we participate.
Why do they do it in December? Never before, never after. Something which is very deep and profound in Japanese mind, which is their attention to the period of New Year. These Japanese ninths in December became a kind of equivalent of our midnight mass.
The singing together gives them special energy for whole year. So I should be okay. I can't get sick, or I can't get cold, or I'll be better than last year. So it's sort of the objective for many people.
Under the dictatorship, I was a journalist student, and then I was a journalist. I wrote about music, about literature or theater. But everything was prohibited because the only culture at the time was the left culture. So it was very dangerous. Most singers went in jail and others went to the exile. And so we stood alone. And we had to learn to sing again. Under the dictatorship, the walls were so thin, the walls could hear, and we were scared to sing or to hear the music. And we record the music from one cassette to another and another and another. And the music was a very slowly process to invite the people to express their fears and to express their emotions, because we couldn't show anything. We were so scared, and we didn't trust anybody we didn't know. We couldn't use the words we want to use because everything was prohibited. So we had to say the things in a way that we understand, the people understand, but not the militaries.
I started the fighting against the dictator from the very beginning, and I came into contact with many people who needed some help. I was helping people to hide, and some of them were from leftist movement that was hit severely by the secret police. It was a very good opportunity for fighting against the dictatorship.
Esto no puede ser.
¿Por qué no puede
Es una
ser?
manifestación que no está autorizada y ustedes la están haciendo.
Perdón, señor.
Habite paciencia.
No se ha gritado. No hay ni una consigna, en absoluto silencio.
Vamos a tratar
Van
de
las
las
mujeres
mujeres
solo
de
con el
una
letrero que
hacia
dice somos más. ¿A quién ofende eso?
A nadie.
I think the women under the dictatorship and all the dictatorships in Latin America, they were very strong because the men were disappeared, were in jail, were in exile or were murdered.
Hacia atrás. Hay mucha gente que se molesta porque están interrumpiendo
Nosotros estamos respetando
la normalidad. La normalidad.
La normalidad, a lo mejor habría que hacer algo con ella, pues. No es tan normal. No es tan normal.
In high school, the focus was on foreign languages. So I wanted to have pen pals from all over the world with whom I could communicate in Russian and in French and in English. So what I didn't know, that it was one of the reasons why the Stasi was spying on me. I know that was one of the reasons why my uncle checked a lot on me. Yeah. So he practically watched my life all these years until the day the wall came down. And I thought he was my uncle, and I loved him, and I trusted him, and I told him everything. Probably they thought I was political. I want to run away, or I want to set something up or something. And I did have pen pals. But of course, the mail, you know, when there's a letter coming, let's say from the United States, I felt so, wow. I tried to improve my language skills and learn about different cultures and what people are doing all day and where they want to go, what their dreams are, what they like, what they dislike. And I'm communicating with people who are like just fiction to me because I'm never going to meet them anyways. There was the wall.
As we escaped the control of this government for almost 2 months, so we had many occasions to use songs and music. I set up the first broadcast station for the hunger strikers. It was very simple. I bought some loudspeaker and small system, and we use batteries. And then some students, they know how to use the power supply on the square for the lamps. So they just use that electricity to supply hundreds of loudspeakers everywhere. There are 2 systems of broadcasting. One is official. One is our own students. I remember quite clearly the occasion that the martial law was announced. So the government broadcast the speeches of the state leaders, like Li Peng announcing, have a martial law where all the citizens, you shall live in your home, do not come on the square. And then I put the cassette of Beethoven to cover the voice of the government system. There was a real battle of voice. I just have a feeling of winning. And that was why we used Beethoven lines. It gave us a sense of solidarity. All people become brothers and a new, better future. It transformed us over one night. For me, it's not a political movement. For me, that became a collective artist movement. Each student, each citizen became naturally artists of hope. On the square, we just feel that collective feeling of joy. Yeah, we were free at last.
In the third movement, the mirror is put up. Everybody is looking in the mirror and they have to confront what they see. There's no such thing as security. All you have is insecurity. It's not just about the anguish of being alone, but you're trying to come to terms with what am I, and what a miracle, and what a tragedy, and what hope there is. And how tragic that the person who created this, who is one of the greatest manipulators of musical sound, is unable to hear any of it. It's one of the most sad and moving artistic predicaments that anybody could ever find themselves in.
Love was sick under the dictatorship because we couldn't trust anybody we didn't know. We couldn't tell our lovers about all the things we have done when we were in a political group. And so it was a crazy situation because the politics was a very important part in our life, in our resistance. And so we had to be silent for the person we loved. But love was very important. It was the only place where we could find tenderness and friendship too. But it was sick. A woman came to me and told me about her man, who the body was found burned without legs, without arms, and without head. I feel she wants that I cry or that I say something, and I can't say anything because I couldn't feel her pain. It was so much what we lived at that time that I only wanted to say her that I love her, but I couldn't feel this pain.
We occupied the square in several occasions, and the final one was a hunger strike. We demanded the government to hold a direct dialogue with us students to push the political reform. The government refused, and 3,000 students went on the square hunger striking. I didn't join the hunger striking because I feel my function is to be an organizer. But on the square, I couldn't eat anything neither, because if I eat, all the ice will catch me. Totally, we had a 7 days hunger strike. The fourth day, I myself fainted, and I was sent to the hospital. We broadcast many deals, and then the music, like Beethoven Nights, and some gesture of protest of the government actions. We just feel that finally we regain our dignity as a human being. We want to express ourselves. We want to find the sunshine, to find the source of life.
I was in prison 14 times. And I was took into Villa Grimaldi.
We heard so much terrible histories from friends who came back, from friends who didn't came back.
We have here the reconstruction of a typical cell. In places like this, we were put 4, even 5 people for many days. Someday we organized a contest. Who was the most bad-smelling one? I lost.
People stood in front of buildings where they knew the secret police is torturing people.
La única marca que a mí me queda es esa, los eslabones marcados en la pierna.
¿Qué fue lo peor?
No saber si salías bien.
No, tener la duda si podía aguantar o no, porque eso dependía de que cayera más gente. They were rather primitive in mind, so I started to insult them, to say to them the most horrible thing I could think of. So they get really angry. And there is, instead of asking me questions that could be dangerous for my friends, they started to hit me in anger. And so they get nothing, just rage.
My biggest fear at that time was not to know if in 5 minutes I can be arrested, I can be disappeared, I can be tortured.
There was a bed frame. The prisoner was put naked over the grid and fixed to that bed. And then they applied electrical shocks in different parts of the body, especially in the genitals.
If somebody tortured me, I don't know if I speak or not. That's why it was healthy not to know.
The place where most people were seen for the last time, it was the tower. I think that no one can say in advance how one is going to react under torture.
Fear to know something I don't have to know, that could be a risk for the others, or that the others say something about me because I was in an underground organization.
I was in a room with the window, with the iron grid, and all I saw by that window was a concrete wall.
Escucha, hermano, la canción de la alegría, el canto alegre del que espera un nuevo día.
And one day I heard the music. It was as having the colorful butterfly in our heart. It was fantastic. It was hope. Have you seen a movie called Yellow Submarine? We were living in that devastated peplum where all was grey and music was vanished and happiness was vanished.
It was a kind of song who gave us the power to say loud what we thought. It was like a shield against the fear. It was really an act against the military and against the dictatorship.
My boyfriend's brother, he was so fed up with the system. and he so badly wanted to leave, and he prepped it months in advance, and he tried. He was trying to make his way over the border. After several attempts by the border patrol, who told him to stop, and he did not want to stop, they shot him. He died right there, right in that strip, which is called the No Man's Land. And then 2 months later, they opened the wall. If he just would have waited two more months. But he was not the only one. So many people died there.
On March the 11th, I was working in my office. I had just come back from the United States the previous day. In the afternoon, around 2:26 p.m., there was an earthquake. It was so large in Tokyo already. So I can imagine how big that would be in the northeast area. It's just so gigantic tsunami that destroyed the whole thing. To the people in those disaster area, our message we try to give is that we are all brothers. Don't get distressed. We will help each other. We are friends. We are brothers. And let's rebuild Japan.
The opening of the fourth movement, I can only imagine what the first hearing of this produced in the mind of the listener, because there's nothing you can really put a finger on. There is this recurring notion of creation. I'm reminded of T.S. Eliot saying, "We shall not cease from exploration, and the end of all our exploring will be to arrive where we began, and to know the place for the first time," from the four quartets. But what is interesting, in that very introduction, Beethoven poses it almost as a question. How shall this fourth movement be done?
we had a very deep sense of fear also. Many of us wrote our own will, last will, or my dear mother, my dear father. Yeah, if I die, please do this and that. During the evening of June 3rd, I think it was the last occasion we used the Beethoven Ninth. The Beethoven Ninth, yeah, which created an ambience of hope for us. And the tanks and the machine guns killed that hope. I don't know how many exactly died that night.
That disaster event, I think, reunited the Japanese people. Inside Japan, almost everybody tried to do something to save the people. What happened is just like Daiku. All people became brothers. We decided to do concert, Daiku concert.
The Ninth Symphony was sung many times. At the beginning, it was the memory of the lost freedom. After it was released, the meaning of the music was brighter and brighter all the time.
When I left Chile, that was 83, and it was a very mad situation. The repression was very big. I was in jail, I didn't have any job after that. And sometimes the only way to be healthy is to leave and to have a distance, so we can be healthy again. And I had a friend in Münster, and so I came to Münster, Germany, to learn to live without fear, to learn to be in a society where the people trust in other people. That was for me very new, because I came with fear and with violence, with much violence inside of me. And when I found this bridge between Beethoven and my history in Chile, I know that I have more answers now, but I have more questions than before, and that's the good thing.
Beethoven attained this power only after profound spiritual struggles in his own life.
I worked right next to Checkpoint Charlie. We worked the morning just for 3-4 hours, and then at lunchtime my boss, he was like, "So are you ready?" So we got there, and there were people passing the border that was closed for more than 20 years. It didn't feel real. I was excited and scared at the same time. It was a huge crowd, and the crowd slowly moved forward and closer to the checkpoint. Suddenly it all started to become real because I was physically walking the space that separated us from our Western German brothers and sisters. The distance to me seemed endless. And for the first time in my life, I actually had an understanding of how big or how far that no man's land was. I got there and people started touching me, and they handed me tissues. And they all said, "Welcome," and "We love you," and they hugged me, and I did not even know these people. They were cheering on us. When I got there, it was like a parade. There was just pure love and joy. I wish every person on this planet could experience this moment. It just fills you from head to toe, and you feed off of it for a very, very long time. And I think I still do.
For us, the students, as we escaped of the control of this government for almost 2 months, we all feel that we were sisters and brothers. We think the same thing, but yesterday we couldn't tell each other. We want to express ourselves.
Freude schöner Götter, Funken, Tochter aus Elysium. Wir betreten feuertrunken himmlische dein Heiligtum. With all these amazing events taking place in 1989, Leonard Bernstein took an opportunity to conduct Beethoven's Nines in East Berlin on December 25th. And a very unique thing was that he changed the word joy to freedom, the word Freude to Freiheit. That line and the complete Ode to Joy for me is all human beings are equal. No one is less and no one is more. No one is better, no one is worse. We were all singing and like kissing. I got a French kiss from a guy I never met in my whole life, but I did it. We were like so ecstatic about it that it just didn't matter. When the wall came down, I was very young. And we, the younger generation, was just like, the world is ours. I had all these crazy dreams, what I want to do. I want to work in hotels all over the world, and I want to fly there, and I want to see that. And I was not afraid of anything. And I just did it. It completely changed my life. It changed myself and how I looked at life and what I wanted from life and what I can do, what I'm capable of.
We embrace harmony, making consensus, talking with others is important in the Japanese culture. Japanese love doing things together. You sing together and you make harmony and you feel as if we are all friends. You need to sing Daiku in order to understand how the singers feel after the concert. I don't know, even after we finish, we have Daiku song in our body, in our mind, in our soul.
I think like every exiles, when people had to go somewhere, to a place that we didn't choose, is the feeling that you are nowhere. And I am a very lucky person. I am very privileged because after 24 years, Münster is my second land. But I feel I belong to two pieces of earth and I belong everywhere. But it's this pain is always inside. This lost paradise that I take in my hands everywhere where I go.
A friend of mine was brought here the same day than me in 1975. And now she is the President of the Republic. Michelle Bachelet was brought here on the same day than me. I'm glad she was released in good shape. But many didn't make it, as you can see. All of them were seen here for the last time. You know something? They could not defeat us. They never could.
Escucha, hermano, la canción de la alegría, el canto alegre del que espera un nuevo día. Ven, canta, sueña cantando, vive soñando el nuevo sol en que los hombres volverán a ser hermanos.
Second verse, here we go. On one side and all the men, no, I'm joking. Last verse. What's to be there?